Hello everyone, you're watching Global Leaders Network WINTV. I'm your host, Yoon. There are many leaders globally in areas such as government, non-for-profit organization, business, and art industry, education, etc. Global Leaders Network invites these leaders and shares their wonderful stories. Today, I invited someone from non-for-profit organization, Crossing Borders. Chung, 정윤주 씨, 안녕하세요. Hello.
안녕하세요.
Would you please introduce yourself and then your role for the nonprofit organization?
Sure. My name is Dan Chung. I am executive director and co-founder of Crossing Borders. We help North Korean refugees who escaped their country in China.
I see. So, did you always think about becoming for the chair of this nonprofit organization, helping refugees, particularly when you're young? Do you have other dreams when you're young?
No, I never thought I would run a nonprofit as my livelihood. I was a kid. I grew up in Niles, very close to here, Niles, Illinois, and I played baseball all the time. So I dreamed of being a baseball player. I wanted to become an archaeologist like Indiana Jones. I loved advertising and I loved marketing when I was a kid, and I wanted to think of commercials and write. And so I had a lot of varied interests growing up, and I never really thought about North Korea until my friend who in 2001 took a missions trip to Northeast China and met these people. I had no idea what was going on.
I see. So, how did you came out with this name, Crossing Borders?
Crossing Borders, so I started it with a friend of mine. His name is Mike Kim. And we were thinking about this name. Like we were thinking about, well, we have to call this organization something. And we happened to be in Borders bookstore. So we were thinking all kinds of different names, but we thought Crossing Borders was a good name because North Korean refugees have to cross many borders to get to freedom, and we have to cross many borders going on an airplane to cross many countries in order to help them, and we meet them in China. We both cross borders to meet each other.
How did you decide to launch the Crossing Borders?
Well, one of my closest friends from college, Mike Kim, we were roommates for a couple years at the University of Illinois. After we graduated, he visited China on a short-term missions trip. He went for about a month. And his intentions were just to check out what was happening in the underground church in China. He had no idea about what was happening with North Korean refugees, and I thought it'd be just another trip for him. But when he came back, he told me stories. He showed me pictures and video of these people who were suffering like I haven't heard before in my life. And they were North Korean refugees, and I had no idea. Growing up, I grew up in America, a Korean-American family. I never really heard about North Korea. I think my parents were trying to protect me from these terrible stories, right? These heartbreaking stories. And, I think it was their intention to, we're in a new country now, and we don't need to worry about things like that. And I was so young, and they probably thought I wouldn't understand. But when I heard these stories about North Korea, I couldn't sleep. I was very, very shocked. And I didn't know it at the time, but it really changed my life, these stories. And this one story that really shook me was about this girl. She was, I think, around 16 years old at the time. And because she grew up during the famine, she looked like she was 7 years old. She was tiny, and because of that, she was so small, and she moved to China in search for food. But in China, they have no human rights. They're not acknowledged even as human beings, and so she was sold to a man. This girl who was 16, who looked like she was 7, was sold to a Chinese man as a piece of property, and that broke my heart. And I knew that I had to do something about it.
I see. You also have a journalism background, right? What did you do before?
I worked here in Chicago. I worked at the CBS radio station, WBBM, as a assistant producer. I worked also at the Associated Press in Seoul for a little bit, covering North Korea. So yeah, I do have a background in journalism. You know, I never thought I could work full time as someone who worked for Crossing Borders, but you know, we started this organization when I was 26 years old, very young. We had no idea what we were doing, but we had a lot of time. But as the organization went on and on, you know, people got older, they got married, they had children, they got promoted at their jobs. Time was getting less and less and less. And so that is why in 2012, they asked me to come on full time. It was, even after I started the organization, I never thought or intended to have this be my career. But, you know, there's lots of surprises in life, and I'm really thankful that I get to do this as a living.
Right, I see. Why did they escape from North Korea? You already explained about the famine and there's no food, but you know, explain more about maybe they have a family, you know, members escape from North Korea first, and then the government hire officers. They just chase after this, you know, others, or some other issues, right? You can talk about that too, and also how do they escape? Can you explain this?
Sure. One of the main drivers of North Korean people leaving their country is economic and food related. It is a capital offense for anyone to leave their country, leave North Korea without permission. And most people do not get permission to leave. And so they know that by crossing that border into China, they are committing a very serious crime against their country, where not only they would be punished if they get sent back, but their family will get punished as well. So that's normally why people, you know, they did a big survey a few years back in 2010 about what drives people, and the number one reason was economic and food related. It's incredible. I mean, since the early 1990s, the North Korean economy has been in depression, worse than the Great Depression in America, but it's lasted until now. The economy has never recovered from what it had been in the 80s and early 90s, and so that is a big driver. And another driver is any sort of political type of situation where people get punished and sent in jails.
Right.
I'm sure people know that North Korea has what equates to concentration camps, and where not only are they imprisoned, but they're tortured. This one woman we helped in China, she had no food, she had no way to make money, and so she started stealing copper wire, electrical lines, because there wasn't even any electricity during the day or night in her area. So she started taking this copper wire and selling it for food and money. Well, she got caught, and she happened to get caught stealing wire that was connected to Pyongyang, and that, because she had no idea.
Of course.
But because it was connected to Pyongyang, the capital city, the main place in North Korea, they're gonna send her to prison for a very long time and possibly execute her for that. And that is why she escaped. There's all kinds of reasons, but most people are miserable in North Korea. Most people, they have no way of making a living, and that's why they leave, and that's why they come to us for help.
But how did they escape then?
Oh, thanks for reminding me. They escape by walking across the river. A lot of people most people who escape North Korea, they say about 70% of all people who escape are women. And so what happens usually, all of the people we help in China are women who've been sold. So this is a very specific situation, but most people talk to someone on the border in the North Korea side who say they could help them cross. These people, the North Korean women don't know at the time, but these people intend to sell them when they get across. But they promise these women, oh, I'll get you a job. You'll be able to send a lot of money back to your family in North Korea. I'll help you cross for free. You don't even have to pay me. I have clothes for you on the other side. But when they cross, it's usually by walking, and these people usually have to bribe a North Korean border guard. But when they cross, they get sold. They do give them new clothes, but that's for the purpose of selling these women. You know, China has a gender gap like the world has never seen.
Right.
They have the one-child policy, which came into effect in the 70s, and all families could only have one child. And because of that, most families have chosen to have a boy. So there's not enough girls in the country. And here are these women coming into China with no human rights. And it's very profitable to sell these women. I've heard prices anywhere from $600 to $2,500 US for.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But in China, that's a lot of money. And it's a lot of money for a very poor family to purchase a woman. Unfortunately, the rich people in China, they can find a wife through a normal way, but it's the poor who need these women. And you know, I've been there many, many times and met these families, and they are the poorest of the poor. I've stayed in their houses, and you know, they're very, very kind to me, but I've never seen houses that run down, dirty. Many of the men who need to purchase wives are disabled, or they have some sort of mental issue. There are a lot of problems that arise from this one-child policy, and it makes people from around that region suffer because of that.
I see. Too bad, you know. Any dangerous incidents you have witnessed or you heard in the past when they're escaping from the North Korea, and also any difficulties that you're facing while working for your nonprofit organization?
Yeah. There have been many dangerous situations in our work. The biggest danger is for the North Korean refugees. Even though they're married to Chinese citizens, they still do not get citizenship or any ID. So, you know, at any moment, these women, the police could come in and take these women away. You know, part of what we do is we have orphanages to help the children of these marriages. And this one girl, she said that, you know, they had a plan for when the police came to their house. The mother would go hide in the backyard under some branches that they set up. And the girl was supposed to lie. The family was supposed to lie to the police and say, I don't know where she is, right? That was the plan. This girl was 6 years old. And when the police came in, she got so scared. They were yelling, they had guns. And she was so scared that when they asked her where her mom was, she said, oh, she's back there. She was just so intimidated. And that was the last time she saw her mother.
Oh, no.
And this is happening every day. China, they need these women. They created the laws that made a market for these women. And they're also hunting them down like criminals and sending them back to North Korea, where they will face torture and execution. It's a huge injustice, and that is why I couldn't sleep, you know, is because I've never seen a situation where people were suffering to begin with, and then they look for help and they suffer something else. It's an equal but different suffering, and it just continues to break my heart.
Wow, this is too sad. You know what's happening nowadays. So it's the Chinese government actually taking these women and they send them back to actually North Korea. Yeah, it's really sad. How can we differentiate Crossing Borders from other nonprofit organizations that involve in helping North Korean refugees then?
Crossing Borders, we're different because, number one, we focus our work in China. We actually are now, starting next year, we'll be branching out and helping refugees in South Korea. But up until now, we've been doing most of our work in China. And, you know, we've noticed over time that the Chinese government has kicked anyone out of their country who's been doing this work. We've been blessed to maintain our presence there, and we still have our presence there, even though the Chinese government has kicked out every aid worker that we know, foreigner that we know, living in that country near the North Korean border. They've been kicked out. But for some reason, we're still around. And that's what differentiates us. It's our long presence in China and our expertise in helping these people. I think one of the biggest things that sets us apart is that we're Korean American, and that's very important in our relationship with these refugees, because North and South Korea have a very long history of hatred and animosity. Like, we all know that North Korean kids are taught to hate South Koreans, right? They're also taught to hate Americans. But since they live right next to each other, there's a lot of animosity towards South Korea. What a lot of Americans are surprised by is that South Korean kids are also taught to be against North Korea as well, to listen for the North Korean accent and to turn people in. And it's a very political situation. I grew up in America. I was born in South Korea, but I grew up in America. I don't have those political hang-ups. And North Koreans also, they see us differently. We're also Korean, and most of us could speak the language and communicate clearly with them, but we don't approach them like a normal South Korean would. And that's very important in establishing good relationships with them, to counsel them through these crisis times. And that's why we think we would be effective in South Korea. It seems like there's a need for this type of relationship with North Koreans. And, you know, our motivations are not political at all. We just see a need. And because we're a Christian organization, we just feel like as Christians, it's our call to help these people. And I don't know what the politics are, and I don't want to know what the politics are, because our intention is simply to help these people. And we hope that we can maintain that focus even in South Korea.
I see. Let's change a little bit atmosphere, because we also like to help your organization. So how can we help your organization?
Yeah, it's a great question. You know, there's not a lot, you know, in a typical nonprofit based here in Chicago, you could go and volunteer, you could serve soup to homeless people, or at a pet shelter, you can do these things and actually be there and see what we do. Unfortunately, because we are dealing with a population of people in China, and we have to be very secretive, there's not that many people who we can send to help. we also don't want to, I don't know, turn these people into like zoo animals, you know, or people can, I get to meet a North Korean and I want to see, I'm curious to see how they behave and how they look, and that's no way to treat a person, right? And so we're very careful about sending people to help them. We make sure they're very qualified and they have specific skill set, like we send a lot of doctors out there and counselors to help them. So the main things people can do is, number one, just tell people about the situation. I think that's very useful, and you could go to our website to have some topics to talk about and some statistics. Number two, we ask if people have the means to give to our organization to fund the work that we're doing. And third, if you're a believer in our faith, we ask for you to pray. There's lots of prayer topics that we have on our website that people can go and pray for us.
I see. Great, thank you so much. Do you have any comments and words that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. It's such a privilege to do this job and meet amazing people like you and your organization here. We have a fundraiser coming up on September 27th called Eat, Drink, Korea. It's Chicago's biggest Korean food festival. And the biggest thing is we want it to be fun. And so we have about 12 restaurants from the Chicago area making Korean style food. Even American restaurants are there making Korean style food, Korean American style food. And it's going to be a time where people can buy a ticket, and the proceeds of that ticket will be sent to China and South Korea next year to help these North Korean refugees. It's going to be a really, really fun time. We have a comedian coming from LA. His name is Paul Kim, and he'll be entertaining us as well. And so we really wanted it to be fun, first of all, where people can just have a good time. Secondly, serve these people by just having a meal together.
I see. Thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome.
Thank you for watching Global Leaders Network WINTV. If you want to watch this again, you can visit our website and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe us. And I want to see all of you next Thursday, 9 p.m. Until then, have a great week. Bye-bye.